Okay, everybody, if you're here, then you're here for the tutorial video on how to take your information and your the facts that you have down and the ideas that you have down, and to translate them over to an essay outline on the film Forrest Gump. If you recall, yesterday we've already watched the film, and you should have already on your note-taking guides completed all the boxes for the three different characters: Forrest Gump, Jenny Karan, and Lieutenant Dan. So on your note-taking guide, all of these boxes should be completed. If they're not completed, you definitely need to do that first before you move on. So you should check your notes right now and make sure that you have all of these boxes completed. Okay, if you are completed, then you also want to have this document open, which is our essay outline for the argumentative essay on Forrest Gump. Right. So you need two documents open. You need your note-taking document and you need this document. So if you don't have both of those documents open, please have them open now. All right. So I'm assuming you're ready to move on. So let's get to what we're going to do. So yesterday you should have finished an Edpuzzle on how to outline and write an essay or how to outline an essay. You already began outlining your essay on the other films. So now you want to take those ideas and information and complete the outline below. All right, let's quickly review our prompt though, because it's important to know the prompt in order to understand what exactly are we writing about. You always need to be responding directly to the prompt. You don't write anything else. This is not a summary of the film Forrest Gump. This is an essay on this prompt. So here's what you're instructed to write about. In a well-developed essay, argue how the three major characters of the film Forrest Gump deal with the various crises in their lives and what the viewer ultimately learns about survival through each of their stories. Okay? So that's the major focus right here, is this part. Okay? So, as you know from our video yesterday and from your history and writing essays, you'll be writing a 5-paragraph essay to respond to this prompt. The first paragraph is your introduction paragraph. The second paragraph is your body paragraph. The third paragraph is your second body paragraph. Your fourth paragraph is your third body paragraph. And then ultimately you end with your conclusion. Now, I might get to all that in the video today, but for today, we're just going to kind of get you started and talk about how to begin outlining this essay. So if you recall from the Edpuzzle video that you were to complete, the first thing you need to do when you outline an essay is always do the thesis statement first. Now, I know it's the last part of your introduction paragraph, but it's the most important part to do first because the thesis statement guides the rest of your paper. Without a thesis statement, you don't have a paper. It's basically telling your reader what exactly you're going to be arguing by responding directly to this prompt with a clear statement. So, since the prompt is asking you to argue how three major characters of the film Forrest Gump deal with various crises, you're going to need to write a thesis statement that reflects that. So, you can say something like, throughout the film, three of the main characters, Forrest, Jenny, and Lieutenant Dan, all face major crises and challenges throughout their lives. And through these challenges, the viewer learns various ways to deal with, cope, and survive major obstacles in life. So, see how that statement is so clear in telling my reader what my paper is going to be arguing. Throughout the film, three of the main characters, Forrest, Jenny, and Lieutenant Dan, all face major crises and challenges throughout their lives. And through these challenges, the viewer learns various ways to deal with, cope, and survive major obstacles in life. Now, for this essay, if you want, you can use my thesis statement, or you can try to write your own in slightly different terms in your own way. But what I'd like you to do right now, in just a second, when I tell you, is to pause the video, go on your document, and write a thesis statement in this box like I did. So pause the video now and do that. Okay, if you're back, then I'm assuming that you have your thesis statement written in this box. This box is completed on your document. And you're ready now to move to your body paragraph 1. Remember, we don't do the hook or the background to the very end of the paper. For now, we got to write the paper first before we can write an opening statement and do the background information. So now we're moving to body paragraph one. Now, body paragraph one is going to deal with the first item or the first person who faced obstacles and challenges throughout the film. And that's where you're going to go back to your note taking document, scroll down to this part about Forrest Gump, and take this information and use it. However, to begin, we have to write a topic sentence. Now, to review from your puzzle yesterday and from the notes on this, when you outline an essay, the topic sentence simply tells your reader what is that paragraph going to be focusing on? What is that paragraph going to be arguing, right? So you want to be very clear. So I'm going to give you an example of a topic sentence right now. So you can start off this paragraph by saying, one of the main characters who deals with numerous challenges and crises in his life is Forrest Gump. Again, very simple, right? Keep it really nice and easy. Just direct telling me what this paragraph is going to be focusing on. Right? Now, you could do a topic sentence in a number of different ways. Some of you are pretty good writers, so if you want to try writing a different topic sentence and checking with me, you can do that. Or you can kind of use my idea or my form here and copy that down. So what I'd like you to do right now is to go to your document and write a topic sentence. So pause the video now and do that. All right, if you're back, then I'm assuming that you've already paused the video, you have your thesis statement done, and you have your first topic sentence done. Okay? So now let's get to our three details to support this topic sentence, right? This is what I'm trying to prove. So these are the details to help prove it. So detail number one is the first challenge or crisis faced and how the character dealt with it and why it matters. Detail number two is the second challenge, the air crisis faced, and how the character dealt with it or why it matters. Detail number three is the third challenge faced and why it matters. And then ultimately, you would have a concluding statement. So, how do I complete that? Well, it's simply all you got to do is go back to your note taking your note taking activity, right? And you should have three boxes filled for each of these, having three different details. So, what do I do? I simply just highlight my example because I wrote nice complete sentences. Hopefully, you wrote complete sentences. If you didn't, you want to correct that. I copy it by hitting Control C. I go back to my document over here. I hit Control V, and I've pasted it in there right there. So it says one major crisis Forrest faced throughout his childhood was his physical disability, resulting in having to wear braces on his legs. Because of the disability, he was constantly bullied and picked on by students. But that's not enough, right? I also got to talk about how the character dealt with it and why it matters. So I go back over here. I highlight my response on how the character dealt with it. I hit Control C and I copy it. And I come back over here, and in that very same box, I paste it. Now look at all that. Look at all that I have written from my first major detail. All right, and that's just one, right? And then you want to repeat that process. So right now, I'd like you to go back to your note-taking document. Again, be careful that you don't highlight the whole box. If you highlight the whole box, it will copy the box too. But go back and highlight this information and paste it in detail one section over here like I did. Pause the video and do that now. So if you're back, I'm assuming you paused the video and that you completed this box, and this box is nice and full with one example about Forrest and then also how Forrest dealt with it. So what do you do next? Well, you just rinse, wash, and repeat that process with details number two. So you go back over here, you take your second detail, put them in this box. Then you go to detail number three right here, take that information and put it in this box, and you should be completed. So I would pause the video and complete these two boxes the same way you did detail number one. All right, if you're back, I'm assuming that you have your topic sentence done and all three detail boxes full, right? So what's left? Well, your concluding statement. This ends your this paragraph. So what did the viewer ultimately learn about survival through his story? Well, if you go back here, you will see that that's what this box is for. So of course I don't have anything written here because this is a blank document, but you should have this part answered. So you'd want to take that information, copy it, and put it right in this box. And then you should have your first paragraph outlined and completed. Once you've done that, you are then ready to obviously move to body paragraph number two. So make sure that your body paragraph one is done now before you move to body paragraph two. All right, body paragraph two is obviously where you switch and you transition to talking about Jenny, right? Because Jenny is our second character who faced a crisis, right? So for body paragraph two, you want to come up with a different topic sentence. Now, it could look similar to the topic sentence that you've already created for the first paragraph, but it's obviously different because you're writing about a different character. So you can say another character who deals with various challenges and obstacles which are much or which are vastly different than many of the challenges faced by Forrest, is his best friend and his love, Jenny. Now, again, um, that this is my topic sentence. You can write your own. So you don't have to copy me word for word. You can try writing your own. If you want to check with me, you can. But you want to transition by talking about Jenny and telling me what we're going to do for Jenny in this paragraph. So pause the video and write a topic sentence for body paragraph two. Okay, if you're back, I'm assuming that you now have this box filled. So what do you need to do? Well, obviously you need to rinse, wash, and repeat. The same thing we did for body paragraph one, but for the paragraph on Jenny. So you go back to your document, you get all this information on Jenny for each detail one, detail two, detail three, and put them right here. So pause the video and do that now. Okay, I'm assuming you're back. And so you're ready to do your concluding statement. Again, you go right back down here, take your response to this question right here about what we learned through Jenny's character. Come over back here, paste it right there in this box about concluding statements. And your body paragraph two now it should be outlined. Right? And then you go and you do body paragraph three the same way you did the other paragraphs. You write a topic sentence first. Then you write your three different details based on Lieutenant Dan, and then ultimately your concluding statement the same exact way. So pause your video now and complete your body paragraph three. Okay. If you're back, then a majority of your essay should already be outlined. Body paragraph one, body paragraph two, and body paragraph three should basically be outlined and almost complete. So from that point, you're ready to move on to the conclusion paragraph, right? Now, the conclusion paragraph has two parts. One, you restate the thesis statement and you want to do it in slightly different words. You remember from the video, you never want to repeat yourself. You always want to use different words so you don't sound boring and robotic. And then you want to end your essay with some food for thought or a strong conclusion to tying the focus of the essay to our world today, making this topic kind of relevant to our readers. Right? So, how do I restate my thesis statement? Well, what I do is I go back up here and I look at my thesis statement from here, from part C, and I want to repeat this thesis statement. However, I want to do it in slightly different words. So, some people like to start off in conclusion or comma or to summarize or there's a number of different transition statements you can use. However, um, you definitely want to rewrite it in different words. I'm not going to do that. Oh, sorry, Rob. We're down here with the conclusion. That's my mistake. So you want to do it right here and rewrite the thesis statement, but in slightly different words. Right. So again, pause the video and rewrite your thesis statement right here. All right, if you're back, then I'm assuming that this conclusion paragraph is written and you are ready to end your essay. Now, this is where your own writing has to come into place. Basically, you want to think about what did my whole paper kind of talk about and how can I tie that all up? Not really even talking about Forrest and Jenny and Lieutenant Dan anymore. You don't really need to talk about the characters anymore. But like ultimately, what was this paper? What can your readers take away from this paper? And how can we tie this all into our world today? You can leave your reader with some food for thought. That's like some advice, some words of wisdom on dealing with challenges and crises. Again, this doesn't have to be too long. If we're talking about a few sentences at the most. And just a good way to kind of close out your paper. In fact, after you do that, if you want me to check it, I could always come over and read it, let you know my thoughts on it, maybe give you some help on it. So pause the video now and try to write a conclusion to your paper. All right, if you're back, then I'm assuming that your conclusion paragraph's done, which means 4 out of your 5 paragraphs should all be outlined at this point, which means we got to come all the way back up and we got to end this paper by starting at the very beginning. And that is by writing a hook to open your paper and a little background information. Now, a hook or opening statement, as you learned yesterday in the video, as you know from probably past essays, is a statement that basically introduces the topic of your paper. Now, I am not going to give you guidance on how to open up your paper. You have to think, what is my paper about, and what's a good way to grab my reader's attention, and how can I draw them into the topic? You don't have to mention the film yet. Remember that we're talking about crises and survival and dealing with challenges in life. So you could always open up your paper that way. We're talking 1 to 2, maybe 3 sentences at the most. Some people like to use a question to open up the paper. Some people like to use straight facts or an interesting ideas or just a nice worded sentence or two to draw your reader into the topic. So I'd like you to pause the video right now and work on a hook or opening statement. All right, if you're back, then you have just one part left, and that is to give background information, to tell your reader a little bit about what the story, what your essay is going to be focusing on. This is where you give the title of the film or the book or whatever you're writing about, a poem, and maybe a 2 to 3 sentences about the film's basic premise. So if someone were to ask you, so and so, what is the film Forrest Gump basically about in 2 to 3 sentences, like a basic synopsis? What would you say? So here's an example of background information. You could say something like, um, the film Forrest Gump deals with many characters who face challenges and major crises throughout their lives, right? You can even say the main character or the viewer follows the main character, Forrest Gump, on a journey over the course of 4 decades as he and the people he encounters learn to deal with and cope with some major obstacles placed before them. Of course, you can even add, there you go. You can even add some one more sentence, maybe talking a little bit about the film. Again, remember if you mention the film title, you should always italicize it or underline it. Don't do both. I like to italicize, so you want to italicize the film title. When you're talking about the character, you don't italicize or underline the character because that's not the title of the story. But when you're talking about the title of the story, you want to italicize it or underline it. So you can choose how you want to do that. But again, um, pause the video right now and write some information for the background. All right. If you're back, then I'm assuming that you have a hook your background information, your thesis statement done, which means at this point, your entire essay should now be outlined. All of these boxes should be filled in. And if that is the case, then you'll be ready to translate that information over to a final draft and work on editing it, and which I'll show you in another video, part two. Eventually, I'll share that with you maybe tomorrow or Thursday, right? So that is how you outline your essay, by taking the information that you've already previously come up with and the ideas that you already wrote down, and it's that simple. So again, you could always go back if you were a little bit lost and review some of these sections in this video. Other than that, good luck to you. I'm here to help you, even though this is a tutorial video. Obviously, I'm also going to be in the room giving you guidance, so you can raise your hand and call me over and ask me if you have any questions. But if you are at this point, I'm assuming your paper is outlined and you completed all these boxes, and you are ready to go to put your final draft together. So congratulations. You're very, very, very close to being done with this paper.